My name is Raymond Auerbach from South Africa. I'm Professor of Soil Science and Plant Production at the Nelson Mandela University and also visiting extraordinary professor at the Sustainability Institute in Stellenbosch University. And I have farmed for 20 years and then trained farmers for 20 years, and now I'm in the middle of the third 20 years of research into organic policy and comparative organic research. I think I must be the most unsuccessful organic pioneer in the world. I've been involved for 48 years with organic farming, and 40 years ago there was very little going on in organics in South Africa, and now there's still very little going on in South Africa. But what has happened, what has changed essentially, are three things. The first thing is we have the beginning of a consumer movement in South Africa. So we have mothers beginning to ask about where the food comes from and wanting to feed their children the right kind of food. So that is something we've seen only in the last 10 years. The second thing is we have an organization, the South African Organic Sector Organization, which has come together and which is serving the needs both of emerging small-scale black farmers and of larger, more commercial organic farmers. And we also have the Participatory Guarantee System of South Africa, which is a group that I helped set up, which helps to do local quality assurance and is a developmental tool for helping small-scale farmers to get into the high-end marketplace. And the high-end markets want some kind of quality assurance. So we've seen that. We also, the third thing that we have seen is that after 18 years of struggle, we finally have a South African organic standard. First, we spent 14 years working with government, and eventually we were blocked in various ways. So then we went to the South African Bureau of Standards, we developed a private standard, and right at the end of it, they brought some other people into the committee who changed the standard and wouldn't have been acceptable internationally. So then we decided 3 years ago to go to IFOAM, and we are part now, as of November last year, we are part of the International Family of Organic Standards of IFOAM. So if you go onto the South African Organic Sector Organization website, you will find the organic standard is there. Well, the European Union has been a leader in organic research. In the book I'm publishing now with the Commonwealth Agricultural Bureau International is a summary of the last 10 years of work, and it starts off with 5 international perspective chapters, including an explanation of what the long-term research trials in Switzerland and in Denmark, as well as the Rodale trials in America, the results of those trials and the importance of those trials in influencing policy. And I think Denmark has been the best in terms of influencing policy, because the Danes have used their research to go back to the politicians and to say these things should change about Danish agriculture. So Denmark has led the way, Germany has done a certain amount as well, and I think this fact that politicians are beginning to pay attention to food systems and the impact of food systems is really important to the developing world. So when you look at the situation in Africa, we have got a very aggressive development of agrochemicals, of fertilizers, and of genetic engineering, and it's being pushed and pushed in developing world, especially in Africa, as this is the scientific way to go. And the alternative story of finding ways that allow African farmers to develop in a way which doesn't make them dependent on input supplies and doesn't wreck the environment and is good for human health is really important. So we look to Europe for research results. We are very excited about the developments in food systems research, and in fact my book is called Organic Food Systems Meeting the Needs of Southern Africa. And I think the food systems lens is particularly useful in Germany, where most of the German schools, if there are any feeding schemes, it has to be organic food that is provided in the German schools. And I think really this is what we hope for from Europe, that we can use some of the research results to inform our own research and to show that there is a precedent, that organic farming is working in Europe, that although there may be a small yield gap, there's not a big yield gap, that in fact it's profitable, and that in fact it makes use of ecosystem services, and it provides ecosystem services in a way which conventional agriculture doesn't do. And I think the hidden costs of conventional agriculture is an area where Africa, South America, and many parts of Southeast Asia are really having an uphill battle trying to convince policymakers that the long-term economics of organic food production and organic food systems is beneficial to the environment and to the people of those countries. So in South Africa at the moment we have an obesity pandemic like the rest of the world. We also have huge incidence of diabetes and heart conditions, and there can be no doubt that this is linked to diet and linked to the way we produce our food. And so I think Europe in a way has gone further down a slippery slope than we have, but we are following. We're trying to mimic America, and Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's are a big part of South African food scene, whereas food sovereignty is what is really needed, and there are a tremendous number of organic food developments which use indigenous plants and indigenous approaches to nutrition, and I think that really needs to be developed. But if we can put it on the back of what's happening in Europe, at least it has some credibility. Right, well, as far as the contentious issues in organic agriculture, there are two sides of the divide that one has to look at. The purists say that we're not organic enough and that we should get rid of some of the chemicals that we use. I worry about that because it can make it so difficult that organic farmers can't survive. But certainly in South African organic practice, plastic sheeting is one of the contentious issues. Some people don't like the use of synthetic perethrins and of copper products. I think those are, like anywhere else in the world, those are issues. There are issues around animal welfare in South African organic agriculture, and I think it is an area where some organic farmers do need to improve their production. I've set up 16 indicators that farmers can use for sustainability, a self-policing system where they can look at how well they're doing on those 16 areas. And it's the only system I've come across which also looks at the farmer's own aspirations as part of sustainability. Because if the farmer is not happy with farming, the farmer's going to stop farming, and we're losing a lot of organic farmers in many parts of the world. But on the other side of the divide, I do believe that organic farming has been quite precious and exclusive, and I think organic farming has tended to say those guys are evil. And many conventional farmers are really doing a lot of work on soil biology and probably know more than many organic farmers about soil biology. And I think they have moved in the direction of sustainable soil management. And I do believe that we need, if we're serious about Organic 3.0, about mainstreaming organic agriculture, we have to also say, how can we be more open to conventional agriculture? They've moved from integrated arable farming to integrated pest management to conservation agriculture, where the emphasis on minimum tillage and crop rotation and mulches, and now to biological farming and to agroecology. And agroecology is almost organic farming, but I think that we need to be open to conventional agriculture, to helping them, even if they become 80 or 90% organic. And we've started the Regeneration International movement to try to do that, to put people who really are working with regenerative agriculture together so that they provide an alternative, because so-called sustainable intensification is not an alternative. It's just using the same old chemicals in a slightly different way. And conservation agriculture is also not really an alternative unless it leads on to more biological practices. But ecological intensification is, I think, the minimum package, where people are using, understanding ecological principles and are building their systems on an understanding of agroecology. So I do believe agroecology is an approach to agriculture which is really important in respecting the integrity of ecological processes, but at the same time, I'm not completely against what some people would describe as industrial organic agriculture, because we have got 7-8 billion people we're going to have to feed in the near future. And I think we can do it organically, but there will certainly be some compromises in terms of coming up to scale. But whether we can compromise without losing our soul is the big challenge that we have.